They didn't argue about it. They announced it. My mother stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, already done with the conversation before it reached me. My father leaned against the counter, nodding like this was a practical decision, not a personal one. We all agreed. My mother said, "You're not coming to the wedding. Not we're worried. Not let's talk. Just decided." I waited. Sometimes silence invites honesty. My father added, "You have a way of making things uncomfortable." A troublemaker. My sister had called me earlier that week. Not to my face, through my parents, like a message passed carefully so it couldn't be challenged. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't ask what I'd done this time. Didn't remind them how often I'd kept the peace by swallowing my own reactions. What exactly is the problem? I asked calmly. My mother sighed. You ask questions. You notice things. This day isn't about that. I nodded. There it was. The real reason. Weddings don't like witnesses who remember patterns. They prefer guests who clap on cue and look away when something feels off. You should understand, my father said. It's her big day. I understood perfectly. I was being removed so nothing would be reflected back. They didn't want honesty. They wanted harmony, the kind that only works if one person stays quiet. My sister sent a message later. Short, efficient. It's better this way. No explanation. No invitation to talk. I replied with one word. Okay. That seemed to confuse everyone. My mother called back. You're taking this very well. I am, I said. She waited for more. There wasn't any. They expected guilt, tears, an argument that would justify the label they'd already given me. When it didn't come, the room lost its energy. My father said, almost disappointed, "Don't make this into something later." "I won't," I answered, and I meant it. That night, I sat alone and thought about all the times I'd been asked to be smaller for the sake of appearances. All the dinners I'd left early. The conversations I'd redirected, so no one felt exposed. Being excluded wasn't new. It was just official now. I didn't post anything, didn't tell extended family, didn't defend myself to people who had already agreed on the story without me in the room. Instead, I opened my calendar and cleared the date. Then I made other plans. Not loud ones. Not reactive ones. Just deliberate. They thought cutting me out would keep things smooth. That removing the troublemaker would guarantee a perfect day. They didn't realize something important. I wasn't the problem. I was the pause. The one thing that slowed moments down long enough for people to notice what they were agreeing to. And when you remove that kind of presence, you don't create peace. You just create space. Space for truth to surface later. When no one is dressed for it, and there's no music loud enough to cover what everyone pretended not to see. The weeks before the wedding moved forward without me, like a train that had already left the station and didn't bother checking who was still on the platform. No one asked where I'd be that day. No one followed up with, "Are you okay?" Instead, I received logistics, accidentally, carelessly. Group messages I was still technically in. Conversations that forgot I could read. My sister's seating chart. My mother's dress dilemma. My father's complaints about cost. I muted the thread. There's a strange clarity that comes when you're excluded but still informed. You see how smoothly people reorganize around your absence. How quickly a gap becomes background. At first, I thought the calm meant I was numb. But it wasn't numbness. It was relief. For the first time, I wasn't managing emotions that weren't mine. I wasn't smoothing conversations or absorbing tension so others could enjoy themselves. I wasn't being quietly responsible for everyone else's comfort. I slept better. One afternoon, an aunt called. "I heard you're not going," she said carefully. "That's right." A pause. Why? They felt it would be better. For who? For the event. She didn't argue. She just exhaled, like someone who'd suspected the answer already. Sometimes, she said, families confuse silence with peace. I smiled at that. It felt like being seen through a closed door. As the wedding got closer, small cracks appeared. My mother called more often, not to apologize, never that, but to check in. She asked neutral questions in a voice that tried to sound casual. What are you doing these days? Are you traveling at all? You seem busy. I was busy, not with distractions, but with decisions I'd been postponing for years. I took meetings I'd been putting off, accepted invitations I used to decline, so I'd be available. I stopped explaining myself to people who already had a version of me they preferred. My life expanded quietly. Then, 3 days before the wedding, my sister called. It surprised both of us. I just wanted to make sure there are no hard feelings, she said quickly, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. I don't have hard feelings. I replied. I have clarity. She laughed nervously. You always talk like that. That's probably why you didn't want me there. Silence. I just want the day to be perfect, she finally said. I didn't ask perfect. For who? Some truths don't need to be spoken twice. The night before the wedding, I received one last message from my mother. People are asking about you. I typed, deleted, typed again. You can tell them I'm well. That was all. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up early, not from anxiety, but anticipation. I made coffee slowly, watched the light move across the room, put on clothes I liked, not ones chosen to blend in or avoid comment. No rush, no schedule built around someone else's expectations. At exactly the time the ceremony was supposed to begin, I stepped outside, not to prove a point, not to post anything, just to breathe. Far away, chairs were being arranged. Music was starting, smiles were being practiced, and somewhere between the vows and the applause, something subtle would begin to shift. Because when you remove the person who notices what's unsaid, the unsaid doesn't disappear. It waits. It waits for the quiet moments after the photos are taken, for the long drive home, for the first argument no one prepared for. I wasn't there to witness it, but I didn't need to be. I'd already learned the most important thing. Being excluded didn't shrink me. It revealed how much room I'd been giving away. I didn't hear about the wedding until weeks later. Not the speeches or the flowers, but the quiet afterward. How the photos looked perfect, yet no one lingered over them. How the laughter ended too quickly. How something felt unfinished. My mother called one evening, her voice softer than I remembered. It was beautiful, she said, then, after a pause, but it felt strange. I didn't respond. When you step out of a role, people finally notice what that role was holding together. My sister didn't call again, not out of anger, but because clarity is harder to face than conflict. She got the day she wanted. What she didn't get was the peace she assumed would come with it. And I didn't get an apology. I got something better. Freedom from explaining myself to people who only understood me when I was convenient. I learned that being labeled a troublemaker often just means you're the one who notices cracks before the building collapses. I wasn't missing from the wedding. I was missing from the illusion. And quietly, without drama or announcements, I chose a life where I was invited every single day,